In the heart of a bustling city teeming with life and relentless energy, Tom Jennings, a well-off businessman known for his staunch Republican views and the ever-present red MAGA hat, finds himself embarked on an unusual experiment. Tom, whose life is usually cushioned by luxury and predictability, has chosen to step into the shoes of those less fortunate, disguised as a homeless man. His decision comes from a heated debate with a friend about empathy and societal biases, leading him to test his theory that humanity's compassion is overstated, especially towards those they perceive as different or inferior. Clad in tattered clothes, his recognizable hat replaced by a nondescript beanie, Tom spends his first few hours on the streets feeling the sharp bite of the autumn wind, a stark contrast to the warm, leather seats of his executive car. He situates himself on a busy corner, a cardboard sign that reads, "Anything helps," propped against his legs, his gaze observing, almost analytically, the myriad of people who pass him by without a second glance. The city, a melting pot of cultures and socio-economic backgrounds, moves around Tom with rhythmic indifference. Business professionals clutch their briefcases a bit tighter as they hurry by, while tourists navigate around him, their eyes fixed on the maps in their hands. From his new vantage point on the ground, the towering skyscrapers seem to loom even larger, a physical manifestation of the societal divide he is now experiencing firsthand. As the hours pass, Tom's initial confidence in his hypothesis begins to waver. The cold indifference he meets starts to cut deeper, challenging not just his physical endurance but his deeply held beliefs about people's capacity for compassion. He feels invisible, a feeling he hadn't anticipated being so impactful. A young mother with her child pauses briefly, the child tugging at her sleeve and pointing at Tom, whispering something in her ear. The mother hesitates, her expression a mix of concern and caution, before pulling her child away, whispering back, "Not now, honey." But just as Tom is about to reaffirm his grim view of humanity, an unexpected interaction slowly begins to shift his perspective. A teenager, dressed in a local high school jacket, stops in front of him, his expression one of genuine concern. The young man reaches into his backpack, pulling out a sandwich and a bottle of water, offering them to Tom with a shy smile. "I don't have much, sir, but I hope this helps a bit." Tom is taken aback, the boy's kindness piercing the armor of cynicism he had worn so confidently. He accepts the meal, mumbling a thank you, touched by the gesture. It's a small act, but it sparks a profound realization within him. As the sun begins to set, casting long shadows over the city streets, a thought nags at Tom, growing louder with each kind act he witnesses, challenging his assumptions. But little did they know, this encounter would change everything, the narrator hints, setting the stage for a journey that will not only test Tom's views on humanity but also reveal to him a shocking truth about the capacity for kindness in a world he thought he understood. As the night deepened and the bustling city began to quiet, Tom, still nestled in his makeshift spot on the sidewalk, encountered another unexpected figure. This time, it was an elderly woman named Esther, who approached with a slow but steady gait. Dressed in a simple floral dress and an old, faded blue cardigan, she carried a large, worn tote bag filled with what seemed like burdens too heavy for her frail frame. "Good evening, young man," Esther greeted Tom with a gentle, almost melodic voice, her eyes scanning his makeshift setup with evident concern. "It's going to be a chilly night. Have you eaten anything warm today?" she asked, setting her bag down beside her. Tom, taken aback by her immediate concern, shook his head slightly. "No, ma'am, but I'm all right. Thank you," he replied, his voice a mix of surprise and gratitude. Esther tooted softly, reaching into her tote and pulling out a thermos and a small package wrapped in foil. "Nonsense. No one should go hungry, especially not on a night like this." She handed Tom the thermos and the package, which, upon opening, revealed a homemade meatloaf sandwich still warm. As Tom accepted the food, he observed Esther with a mix of curiosity and admiration. Her actions defied the simplicity of her appearance, showcasing a resilience and generosity that belied her age and physical limitations. "Thank you very much. That's very kind of you," he said, his voice softening. Esther settled down beside him, her presence comforting. I live just around the corner. Been in this neighborhood my whole life, she began, sharing stories of the community's past. A time when neighbors knew each other by name and looked out for one another. These streets have changed, but some of us remember the way things used to be. We try to keep a bit of that alive in small ways. Tom listened intently, the warmth from the food seeping into his body, and a warmth of a different kind, a growing warmth of understanding, filling his heart. Esther's stories painted a picture of the neighborhood that was new to him, challenging his preconceived notions of the city and its inhabitants. As they talked, Esther continued to surprise Tom with her insights into the city's issues and her own little efforts to address them, such as her informal food distribution for the homeless every weekend, made possible by her pension funds. It's not much, but it's what I can do. It's all about doing what you can with what you have, she said, echoing a sentiment that resonated deeply with Tom. Their conversation was interrupted by a small commotion nearby, a young couple struggling with a flat tire on their car. Without hesitation, Esther stood up, motioning for Tom to join her. Come on. Let's see if we can help them. Together, they approached the couple, and Tom watched as Esther calmly guided them through the process of changing the tire. Her expertise with the task another layer to her already impressive character. The couple, clearly grateful, thanked them profusely before driving away. Returning to their spot on the sidewalk, Tom felt a profound shift in his perspective. Esther's selflessness, her resilience in the face of daily challenges, and her skillful handling of the unexpected crisis illuminated her true nature, a stark contrast to the frail old woman he had first perceived her to be. As they parted ways later that evening, Esther's simple kindness and the powerful lessons of humanity she embodied left a lasting impression on Tom. Her life, a testament to the impact one person can make with modest means but a grand heart, challenged Tom to rethink his own ways of contributing to the world. The encounter with Esther was not just a lesson in humility and kindness but a call to action, transforming Tom's understanding of what it truly means to serve and support one another in a community. As Tom continued his guise as a homeless man, the stark contrasts of the city and its people grew ever more apparent. Nestled under the dim streetlight where he spent his nights, Tom wrestled with an internal conflict that had begun to gnaw at him since his encounter with Esther. The gratitude he felt towards her was tinged with a guilt that he hadn't fully anticipated. Her generosity and the humility it embodied starkly contrasted with his own life, where such direct acts of kindness were rare and often delegated to others. Tom's internal struggle deepened as he faced the harsh realities of life on the streets, witnessing not just indifference but outright hostility towards the homeless from passers-by and, occasionally, from law enforcement. These experiences laid bare the systemic injustices that he had only previously understood in abstract terms. He saw how easy it was for those in power, including those in his political sphere, to overlook or misunderstand the complexities of poverty and homelessness. This realization forced him to question his own roles and responsibilities as a citizen and a leader within his community. One chilly evening, as Tom shared a worn blanket with another homeless man, he heard stories of how certain policies directly affected the less fortunate, policies he had once supported, without fully grasping their on-the-ground impact. The man, named Marcus, spoke bitterly about the challenges of finding work without a fixed address, and how police sweeps often meant losing the few possessions he had. Why do they even bother us? We're not hurting anyone, Marcus said, his voice a mix of resignation and anger. Tom listened, his heart heavy, knowing that his previous political stances had contributed to these very issues. The next day brought further internal and external conflict. While sitting on a busy street corner, Tom witnessed a small group of activists handing out meals and offering legal advice to the homeless. He watched, initially from a distance, as they worked with compassion and dedication. Driven by a mix of guilt and a desire to understand better, he approached them, volunteering to help. His offer was met with skepticism. One of the activists, recognizing Tom's hesitancy and discomfort, confronted him. "Why are you really here? Do you think this is some kind of game? These are real people's lives," she challenged sharply. The confrontation was a pivotal moment for Tom. It highlighted the resistance he faced not just from others but also within himself. Her words struck a chord, and he responded with an honesty that surprised them both. "I'm here because I realized I've been part of the problem. I want to understand, to help," Tom admitted, his voice laden with an earnestness that slowly melted the activists' initial distrust. This admission marked the beginning of Tom's genuine engagement with the issues he had previously only nominally addressed. He spent the following weeks actively participating in outreach programs, his perspective continually shaped by the personal stories he encountered. Each story added layers to his understanding of the systemic barriers entrenched in society, barriers that his own actions, directly or indirectly, had helped sustain. Through these realizations, Tom's worldview shifted dramatically. He recognized that true empathy required action, not just feelings, and that making a real difference meant stepping out of his comfort zone and challenging the norms and policies of his own making. This journey deeply humbled him, stripping away the remnants of pride and replacing them with a resolve to advocate for meaningful change. His experiences on the streets dismantled his previous perceptions and rebuilt them into a newfound commitment to use his influence for genuine advocacy and reform, ensuring that his future actions reflected the harsh truths and beautiful humanity he had witnessed. As the weeks passed, Tom's experiences on the street, cloaked in anonymity, radically transformed his perspectives and priorities. He began to understand homelessness not as a distant issue filtered through reports and policy discussions, but as a palpable, human reality shaped by stories of hardship and resilience. The encounters with Esther, Marcus, and the activists peeled back layers of preconceived notions, revealing a complex world where empathy was a lifeline, often more sustaining than the very policies meant to alleviate suffering. Motivated by this profound shift in understanding, Tom decided to leverage his resources and connections to initiate meaningful change. His first step was to establish a foundation aimed at addressing the root causes of homelessness. However, unlike traditional approaches, his plan was to create solutions informed by the voices of those he had met on the streets, ensuring that any initiative taken was both relevant and respectful to their needs. Tom reached out to Esther, inviting her to be a part of the Foundation's board. Her deep community ties and first-hand insights would prove invaluable. He also invited Marcus and several activists, including the one who had initially challenged his intentions, to serve as consultants. Their roles were not just symbolic but equipped with the authority to guide the Foundation's decisions and strategies. Together, they developed programs that focused on immediate relief as well as long-term sustainability. One of their first projects was the Home Again initiative, which provided temporary housing solutions paired with job training and placement services, recognizing the dignity in work and the stability it brought. Another program, Voices of the Street, was a series of forums and workshops where the homeless community could share their experiences and challenges, fostering a dialogue between policymakers, business leaders, and the public to bridge understanding and spur collective action. The Foundation also worked to change local policies that were punitive towards the homeless, advocating for ordinances that protected their rights and dignity. Tom used his clout to engage with political leaders, many of whom were surprised by his new advocacy but impressed by his passion and the compelling data the Foundation provided. Months later, at the Foundation's first annual gala, Tom shared the stage with Esther, Marcus, and the activists. Together, they recounted the story of how the Foundation came to be and the pivotal role each of them played in its creation. The gala was not just a fundraising event but a celebration of community and mutual respect. In his keynote speech, Tom addressed the audience, his voice resonant with genuine commitment. "Tonight, we stand together, not just to raise funds, but to affirm a promise to support and uplift those among us who struggle every day without shelter or security." This foundation began on the streets, inspired by the courage and kindness of people like Esther and Marcus, and the unwavering determination of advocates who fight tirelessly. "I learned that to truly help someone, you must first truly see them, not as a problem to be solved, but as a person to be understood." As applause filled the room, the moral of their journey was clear. Real change requires humility, the willingness to learn, and the courage to transform personal revelations into public actions. For Tom, the transformation was not just about changing how he saw the world but about changing how he acted within it. By acknowledging the worth and wisdom of those he once viewed from a distance, he not only enriched his own life but also empowered a community, proving that humanity's deepest strength lies in its compassion and connectivity. This journey brought Tom full circle, from a skeptic cloaked in a disguise to a catalyst for genuine progress, illustrating that the most profound truths about humanity are often learned by walking a mile in another's shoes. The foundation, just like Tom's new path, stood as a testament to the power of empathy and the enduring impact of acting upon it. As the gala evening drew to a close, Tom found a quiet balcony overlooking the city lights. He stood there, reflecting on the journey that had brought him to this point, a path that had profoundly altered his perspective and purpose. Beside him, Esther joined, her presence a comforting reminder of where it all began. "It's quite something, isn't it?" Esther remarked, her gaze sweeping across the skyline. To think that a simple act of kindness on a cold street corner could lead to all of this. Tom nodded, his eyes mirroring the city's glow. "It's more than I could have imagined," he admitted. "You know, I started this thinking I might uncover some universal truth about humanity, but I ended up discovering so much about myself. It's not just about seeing the need. It's about understanding our power to meet it." Esther smiled, her wise eyes reflecting years of experience mixed with a newfound hope. "That's the beauty of life, isn't it? Just when we think we have it all figured out, it surprises us, teaches us something new about ourselves and others. What you've done, Tom, it's a reminder that no matter our backgrounds or our beliefs, we all have something to contribute." Tom looked out again, his thoughts turning to the many people he had met along the way. People like Marcus and the young activist who had challenged him, each teaching him different facets of strength and resilience. "This foundation, it's just the beginning," he continued. "I want to keep learning, keep helping. If there's one thing I've learned, it's that every small interaction, every effort to reach out, it can ripple out further than we ever anticipate." "Indeed," Esther agreed. "And those ripples can turn into waves. You've started something powerful here, Tom. Just remember, it's the humility to keep learning and the courage to keep going that will keep those waves moving." As they turned to head back inside, Tom felt a deep sense of fulfillment but also a renewed sense of responsibility. The night was not just an end but a beginning, a pledge to continue pushing forward, to keep listening and learning. The moral of Tom's story resonated deeply, not just with him but with everyone his journey had touched. It was a testament to the power of kindness, the importance of humility, and the profound connections that can grow from genuinely seeing and stepping into the lives of others. His story, shared widely, served as an inspiration, a call to action that anyone, regardless of their position or power, could answer. It was a reminder that in the intricate tapestry of humanity, every thread counts, and every kindness weaves a stronger, more compassionate community.